In memory of Genesis chapter 23 verses 1 to 20. 1 Kings chapter 1 verses 1 to 31. And Acts chapter 7 verses 1 to 18. Introduction. Have you given a chance to speak a eulogy? What do you remember most about the person? Last parasha, Adonai Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh tested Abraham, and his faith was confirmed by giving his only son Isaac as burnt offering. In our Torah portion, another challenge came to Abraham because of the death of his wife Sarah, who lived 127 years and the only woman listed in the Bible about her age at death. Sarah died in Hebron, a land in Canaan. Maybe Abraham was not beside Sarah when she died, because in Genesis chapter 22 verse 19. After the Akedah of Isaac, he dwelt in Beersheba, and this could be the reason why Abraham mourned and weep. The Hebrew word for mourn is sapad, means to tear the heart, and the Hebrew word for weep is baka, which means to cry, shed tears. It was a heartbreaking day for Abraham. He lost half of his heart. Although he had many painful times in his life, this was the only time that he wept when Sarah died. In spite of Abraham's sadness, his faith still remains. How? Number 1. He humbled himself twice. First, as a foreigner. He spoke to the sons of Heth, and he told them that he is a sojourner and foreigner among them because the Hittites were living in the land. In Genesis chapter 17 verse 8, Adonai Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh said to him, I give to you and your descendants after you the land in which you are a stranger, foreigner. All the land of Canaan, as an everlasting possession. And I will be the God. Upon asking a property for the burial of Sarah, he did not take it by force and not take it for free. Second, he bowed down to the people of the land. Abraham bowed down to show respect. He was eager to meet Ephron, the owner of the land, because he wants the cave of Machpelah for a burial place. He wants the land not only to give her wife Sarah a decent burial, but he wants to get a secure position in the land. He was not just thinking of the present, but he was thinking of his future descendants to inherit the promised land. Because of faith, twice Abraham humbled himself. He wants to fulfill the covenant of Adonai Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh concerning the promised land, even he was in pain. Number 2. He buried Sarah in Machpelah cave. The burial of Sarah in the land of Canaan is a testimony of belief in the promises of God, and her bone will be a witness to God's promise as well. After Sarah, Abraham also buried there, and then Isaac and his wife Rebekah, then Jacob and Leah. All these died in faith, without receiving the promises, but having seen them and having welcomed them from a distance, and having confessed that they were strangers and exiles on earth. Hebrews chapter 11 verse 13. In memory of Sarah, we have learned the following. First, a dead person deserves a decent burial. Second, there's a time to weep and a time to mourn. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 4. Third, losing a loved one should not be an end of our faith in God. In our Haftarah portion, King David was old and advanced in years, and he had trouble keeping warm. The solution was, his servants suggested to look for a virgin to care for David, and they found Abishag the Shunammite. During this time, the son of David Adoniah wanted to replace his father as king, and he exalted himself, prepared chariots and horsemen, and called the help of Abiathar the priest. Adoniah also sacrificed animals, but he did not invite prophet Nathan, Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, the mighty Menah, and Solomon his brother, because their loyalty belonged to King David. Adonai Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh used Nathan the prophet to intervene, and he spoke to Bathsheba and told her to remind King David concerning his promise to Solomon as the next king. What are the lessons that we can learn here? First, do not rebel and no to self-proclamation. When Adoniah exalted himself, I will be king, and prepared a party, it was an evidence of his rebellion. In spite of the beauty of his name, which means, my Lord is Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, he rebelled by not respecting his father David, and so with her brother Solomon. Adonai Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh hates rebellion and it is a serious matter in his eyes. 1 Samuel chapter 15 verse 23, for rebellion is a sin of divination, and presumption is as iniquity and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has also rejected you from being king. Second, be humble. Adoniah wants honor and praise. The scriptures tells us to set aside our selfishness and pride. Matthew chapter 23 verse 12, and whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. Third, disciplining children. The goal of parenting is to raise godly seed. And this will necessitate, and one of the keys is discipline. Obviously King David did not take the heed to discipline his son Adoniah. Proverbs chapter 22 verse 6, train up a child in the way he should go, even when he is old he will not depart from it. In our apostolic portion, Stephen responds to the accusation of the council by defending himself. First, he shared the appearance of Adonai Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh to Abraham in Mesopotamia before dwelling in Haran. The bottom line of Abraham's story was the faith and obedience of him in fulfilling the covenant of Adonai from him to Isaac and to Yaakov and the 12 tribes of Israel. Next, he tells the story of Joseph's experience with his brothers and how he got in Egypt, and from there how Adonai favored him and became governor over Egypt. Sadly, Joseph's father Yaakov died, but his 12 sons grew and multiplied in numbers during their stay in Egypt. Stephen tells this to the council to show them how Adonai Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh protected the nation of Israel during the 400 years of slavery. The connection of our parasha is about the memories of the Bible character. In Torah, Sarah lived 127 years and she died. In Haftarah, King David was about to die and he kept his word to Solomon as the next king. In Apostolic, Stephen shared to the council the memories of the patriarchs to show that Adonai Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh is faithful to them. Back to my introduction. We remember our departed loved ones because of the good memories and legacies. We remember Sarah because of her faith, Hebrews chapter 11 verse 11. We remember King David because he kept his word and passed the kingship to his son Solomon. We remember the patriarchs because of their faith and obedience to Adonai Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. Our loved ones may be deceased, but our faith shall increase. Shabbat Shalom.